do I just push this green thing? There we go. You know, most of my life, I've felt like that I didn't belong. Most of my life, I've kind of had feelings of inadequacy, that I can't live up to the bar that the world sets for us. Even today, I find myself like listening to Katie and her music and seeing the people on the screen makes me go, wow, man, I can never do anything like that. Seeing the dancers earlier makes me have those same feelings, like those people are geniuses with their bodies and with their movement and the way they express themselves. I can never be that. But then I remember, well, wait, I am part of something great right now. So what happened? What happened in my life to take me from those feelings of listening to the world? And as Molly will tell you a little bit later on, the world does a really good job of making us feel like we can't be something or do something. What happened? In 2003, the end of 2003, about, I guess that's 7 years ago now, I learned about the world's water crisis. I actually remember the night very well when it happened. I remember Google was just kind of this new thing for me. And I'm searching along, doing all these kind of weird searches and whatever, and then I stumbled across some kind of figure on Google that said 1.1 billion people in the world lack access to clean water. And I remember thinking, come on, give me a break. That's got to be a mistake. So I typed in like water crisis something, and sure enough, one after another search, sure enough, billion with a B, not a million. And then I began researching even more, and actually that night, in December of 2003, I stayed up the entire night. I got out a pad and a pencil, and I formed the concept of an organization called Wine to Water because of the things that I was learning. I actually was pretty pissed off that night because not only was I learning that 1.1 billion people don't have access to clean water in the world, I also learned that it affects mostly children. I learned that water kills more children than anything else in the world. HIV/AIDS is number 2. Malaria is number 3. Tuberculosis is number 4. Water kills more than all 3 of those combined. Yet those 3 received 80% of the funding and research, and water receives less than 20. So it's a little bit easy for me to fuel my night's tirade of hashing out the idea for an organization that fought this. In 2004, just about a month and a half after that night, we held our very first Wine to Water event. I was just a bartender, struggling to get through a communications degree at the time. I'm also a musician, not anything like Miss Katie here. I play guitar in nightclubs and bars. I sing stuff like Johnny Cash, so I don't have to like really sound great. And the great thing about singing in bars is most people have had a bit to drink, and so they think you sound wonderful, but I was just a normal guy. And in February, I held my first Wine to Water event, and it solidified what I was thinking, that maybe I can make a difference in this. Our first event, we raised, I think $6,000 or $7,000, and I'd never held an event before. Didn't know what to do. And then I had a restaurant owner come up to me at that event and said, well, I want you to do one of those Wine to Water events at my bar. So we did. And then we did another one. And then I found out, well, gosh, I got all these thousands of dollars that I raised. Now how am I going to get it to people like that? What am I going to do? And so I actually went to an organization based out of Boone. I decided, you know, I probably can't reinvent the wheel. It's not a good idea. Let me just go to somebody that's already doing good work. I heard my parents were living in Boone at the time. Heard about this organization that was drilling wells all over the world. And so I met with their head of their water programs, and I said, look, sir, I've got all this money. I want to give it to you. I just want to make sure, please, that it all goes to water, not anything else, not administrative fees. I'm here to see what you're doing and make sure that it's going to go to the right place. And this guy was kind of shocked. He looked at me, and I came into his office where everybody else was dressed up nice, and I had a T-shirt on showing all my tattoos, and he's like, why are you here? And you've raised tens of thousands of dollars, and you just want to give it to us. And he ended up turning the whole conversation around on me, and it ended up being an interview. And he said, I tell you what, look, just keep your money. Why don't you come work for me? And then you bring your money wherever I send you in the world, and you use that money to do this work so that you can write back to all your bar crowd and everybody back home and let them know that that money is being used for something good. So I said, okay, that's good. And he asked me, where do you want to go? And I said, I don't care. I just want you to send me to the worst place in the world. So he sent me there. That's Darfur, Sudan. 6 months after my first event, Wine to Water, August 1 or 2 of 2004, I found myself living in Darfur, Sudan. I lived there for a year. This was the first camp that I worked in. It's called Marla Camp. There's 8,000 people living in those shanty tents back there. They've been forced to flee from their villages and from their homes because of the genocide that the government of Sudan had been sponsoring. This is one of the camps, and it was actually located in an area that's called a UN no-go zone. So once I landed on the ground in Darfur, I began to go on these really important UN meetings, and at these really important UN meetings, they had a big map, and they had areas of the map with big red circles and lines through them that apparently you weren't supposed to go. And I was like, well, wait, there's a camp there called Marla, right? Yeah. Well, if we can't go, how are they going to get help? We're like, well, people that aren't connected directly with the UN are welcome to go, but it's very insecure. So again, being in the worst place, I decided to work in the worst places of the worst place. And that's what brought me to Marla Camp. That was my first experience of clean water. Just to give you an idea, you got 8,000 people living there. Those children walk 5 hours on average every day to get water. 5 hours. The Janjaweed were always waiting around the outside of the camp, looking for their opportunity to rape and kill the women and the children as they're going to get the water. The first time that I saw something that I was a part of changed that. The first time that the tap went on right in the middle of that camp and clean water came out and those kids didn't have to walk 5 hours to get water anymore, it changed my life forever.